Everybody doing today? We are looking into a video. This is KGB defector that spoke out in an interview in 1984. We're going to react to this video and give, I'm going to throw some opinions and, views that I have on it. And please, hit the like button if, this content is. Please try not hit dislike if you don't agree with us, then that's fine. Move on. But we're just trying to build up a channel here for people that want to understand what's going on in society and why is stuff happening, and trying to understand it from history, but political, both kind of like, and we're going to react to quite a bit of stuff. Might put up some things about articles and give opinions on those, but this is what we're going to do in this video today. So let's get into it.
Before about ideological subversion. That is a phrase that I'm afraid some Americans don't fully understand. When the Soviets used the phrase ideological subversion, what do they mean by it?
Ideological subversion is the process which is legitimate, overt, and open. You can see it with your own eyes. All you have to do, all American mass media has to do, is to unplug their bananas from their ears, open up their eyes, and they can see it. There is no mystery. There is nothing to do with espionage. I know that espionage, intelligence gathering, looks more romantic. It sells more deodorants through the advertising, probably. That's why your Hollywood producers are so crazy about James Bond type of thrillers. But in reality, the main emphasis of the KGB is not in the area of intelligence at all. According to my opinion and opinion of many defectors of my caliber, only about 15% of time, money, and manpower is spent on espionage as such. The other 85% is a slow process which we call either ideological subversion or active measures, активные мероприятия in the language of the KGB, or psychological warfare. What it basically means is to change the perception of reality of every American to such an extent that despite of the abundance of information, no one is able to come to sensible conclusions in the interests of defending themselves, their families, their community, and their country. It's a great brainwashing process which goes very slow, and it's divided in four basic stages. The first one being demoralization. It takes from 15 to 20 years to demoralize a nation. Why that many years? Because this is the minimum number of years which requires to educate one generation of students in the country of your enemy, exposed to the ideology of the enemy. In other words, Marxism-Leninism ideology is being pumped into the soft heads of at least 3 generations of American students without being challenged or counterbalanced by the basic values of Americanism, American patriotism. The result you can see. Most of the people who graduated in the 60s, dropouts or half-baked intellectuals, are now occupying the positions of power in the government, civil service, business, mass media, educational system. You are stuck with them. You cannot get rid of them. They are contaminated. They are programmed to think and react to certain stimuli in a certain pattern. You cannot change their mind, even if you
On that note, I would like to say that's kind of interesting to, if people can actually, not 100%, saying this guy's right on what he's saying, but I think there is quite a bit of deception going on in the political arena. That's, nobody can deny that. politicians are deceiving every person whenever they can get an opportunity. And I think, I don't know how many politicians that are in office now have actually watched this video and might have taken some type of way to use it as a way, because nowadays we got a lot of technology and it doesn't take that much effort to get messaging out to the world. And if it's good enough or a certain corporate news media picks it up, it can spread faster than wildfire. And that's where, you know, people would really have to watch out for that type of stuff, because it can deceive a lot of people in an instant. Have people believing stuff that might not actually be true. Let's keep going.
Expose them to authentic information. Even if you prove that white is white and black is black, you still cannot change the basic perception and the logic of behavior. In other words, these people, the process of demoralization is complete and irreversible. To get rid society of these people, you need another 20 or 15 years to educate a new generation of patriotically minded and common sense people who would be acting in favor and in the interests of the United States society.
And yet these people who've been programmed and, as you say, in place, and
Yes.
who are favorable to an opening with the Soviet concept, these are the very people who would be marked for extermination in this country?
Most of them, yes. Simply because the psychological shock when they will see in future what the beautiful society of equality and social justice means in practice, obviously they will revolt. They will be very unhappy, frustrated people.
Not to make light or anything, but that kind of reminds me of when I went and read, somebody suggested to me to read a book over, I forget the name, but it was partially over the French revolutions that happened. And it wasn't just one, it was like several in 100 years or something. It was like 3 or 4 in like 100, 125 years or something like that. It was, but I think that's, where he's kind of like, America has a certain way of doing a certain stuff, not saying, certain things that America push or puts on its own self, so other foreign governments don't cause, doesn't cause, individual freedom to be extinguished, where people have their individual freedom of speech, right to have a gun, those types of things. Innocent still proven guilty, the individual type of thing of that. And I think that's where he's touching, is where nowadays I can say it seems like people are playing a deception or double standards in politicians or in the political arena. Because I've seen some stuff go on, it's kind of like one side can do it, but the other side can't. Or this side can do that, but the other side, it's kind of like, hold on, why is this puts a little a little few question marks on that. I'm not trying to be mean or anything, but that's, my opinion on that.
And the Marxist-Leninist regime does not tolerate these people. They obviously they will join the links of dissenters, dissidents.
Yes.
Unlike in present United States, there will be no place for dissent in future Marxist-Leninist America. Here you can get popular like Daniel Ellsberg and filthy rich like Jane Fonda for being dissident, for criticizing your Pentagon. In future, these people will be simply squashed like cockroaches. Nobody is going to pay them nothing for their beautiful, noble ideas of equality. This they don't understand, and it will be a greatest shock for them, of course. The demoralization process in the United States is basically completed already. For the last 25 years. Actually, it's overfulfilled because demoralization now reaches such areas where previously not even Comrade Andropov and all.
Sorry to cut in there, but it seems like this is now where he's talking about this happened in the 1960s or around this time, like it occurred, and this is where, like I said, this is an old video saying they done these things, and then it kind of moved the needle in a certain way back then, to where the outcome would come out more favored probably to help other foreign groups or Russia, or put it to where they could. But yeah, that's what it seems like. I don't nose was bothering me, but yeah. Let's keep going.
All his experts would even dream of such a tremendous success. Most of it is done by Americans to Americans, thanks to lack of moral standards. As I mentioned before, exposure to true information does not matter anymore. A person who was demoralized is unable to assess true information. The facts tell nothing to him. Even if I shower him with information, with authentic proof, with documents, with pictures, even if I take him by force to the Soviet Union and show him concentration camp, he will refuse to believe it until he is going to receive a kick in his fat bottom. When a military boot crashes his balls, then he will understand, but not before that. That's the tragic of the situation of demoralization. So basically, America is stuck with demoralization, and unless, even if you start right now, here, this minute, you start educating new generation of Americans, it will still take you 15 to 20 years to turn the tide of ideological perception of reality back to normalcy and patriotism. The next stage is destabilization. This time, subverter does not care about your ideas and the patterns of your consumption.
On that note, on demoralization, that's where, like I said in the other video, where people use certain phrases, catchwords, whatever. At least this is my understanding, to strip an individual's humanity from them by, trying to argue on the person's appearance, his beliefs, or outright using derogatory language to destroy, trying to destroy the character, put it that way. And that's where, like, I usually don't, I don't like listening to debates. Have that, and I know I posted one of them. We put one up on the channel. and that was, if you want to go check it out, you can. But that's, like I said, it's, to strip someone, the individual, of their individual humanity. And that's where, like, I'm kind of like, always kind of cautious when people are putting in, news or any information. I'm kind of like, how are you presenting, and how much facts are you putting on the table when you're presenting your argument? Because, or truth behind that. Because a lot of people out here nowadays are not putting enough of that into their, whether it be content or they use the deception, trying to deceive by converting the actual facts into a different way. And that's where it's like, I'm always trying to keep my mind open. So yeah, let's keep going.
Whether you eat junk food and get fat and flabby, doesn't matter anymore. This time, and it takes only from 2 to 5 years to destabilize a nation, what matters is essentials: economy, foreign relations, defense systems. And you can see it quite clearly that in some areas, in such sensitive areas as defense and economy, the influence of Marxist-Leninist ideas in the United States is absolutely fantastic. I could never believe it 14 years ago when I landed in this part of the world that the process will go that fast. The next stage, of course, is crisis. It may take only up to 6 weeks to bring a country to the verge of crisis. You can see it in Central America now. And after crisis, with a violent change of power, structure, and economy, you have so-called the period of normalization. It may last indefinitely. Normalization is a cynical expression borrowed from Soviet propaganda. When the Soviet tanks moved into Czechoslovakia in '68, Comrade Brezhnev said, "Now the situation in brotherly Czechoslovakia is normalized." This is what will happen in the United States if you allow all these schmucks to bring the country to crisis, to promise people all kind of goodies and the paradise on earth, to destabilize your economy, to eliminate the principle of free market competition, and to put a big brother government in Washington, D.C., with benevolent dictators like Walter Mondale, who will promise lots of things, never mind whether the promises are fulfillable or not. He will.
I want to stop there for a minute and say that kind of sounds like nation building. Let me know in the comments, but that kind of, I know United States does that a lot, or at least has that in the last 20 years. And there's some stuff where, like Vietnam, Japan, certain things where we played a role, but it seems like, every country tries to do this, little nation build type of thing. It's like he's saying, one country they went in, seized, and they said now it's, normalized that we're, and, that kind of goes back to colonialism. I get that. But, as I said, nowadays it kind of sounds, and that's why I think a lot of people don't like nation building. And they try and, at least in this country, in America, try and prohibit or stop that type of nation building. Instead, try and look for, working among people and try and not, like the Iraq thing. I know this has been hit around quite a bit, but it failed. Russia did their own thing, and it passed, it failed. There was problems, but it was still under the guy. It still follows somewhat under the guidelines of colonial. China does their own type of thing. There's all kinds of countries that kind of play around this nation building or colonial kind of like thing, and that's where me, I don't kind of, I'm not even a close fan of war, not even remotely wanting to be any kind of war, but nation building period. Nope, it's just like throw that stuff in the garbage. So let's keep going.
He will go to Moscow to kiss the bottoms of new generation of Soviet assassins. Never mind. He will create false illusions that the situation is under control. Situation is not under control. Situation is disgustingly out of control. Most of the American politicians, media, and educational system trains another generation of people who think they are living at a peacetime. False. United States is in the state of war, undeclared total war against the basic principles and the foundations of this system. And the initiator of this war is not Comrade Andropov, of course. It's the system. However ridiculous it may sound, the world communist system or the world communist conspiracy, whether I scare some people or not, I don't give a hoot. If you are not scared by now, nothing can scare you. But you don't have to be paranoid about it. What actually happens now, that unlike myself, you have literally several years to live on unless the United States wake up. The time bomb is ticking. With every second, the disaster is coming closer and closer. Unlike myself, you will have nowhere to defect to, unless you want to live in Antarctica with penguins. This is it. This is the last country of freedom and possibility.
Okay, so what do we do? What is your recommendation to the American people?
Well, the immediate thing that comes to my mind is, of course, there must be a very strong national effort to educate people in the spirit of real patriotism, number one. Number two, to explain them the real danger of socialist, communist, whatever, welfare state, big brother government. If people will fail to grasp the impending danger of that development, nothing ever can help United States. You may kiss goodbye to your freedom, including freedoms to homosexuals, to prison inmate. All this freedom will vanish, evaporate in 5 seconds, including your precious lives. The second thing, the moment at least part of United States population is convinced that the danger is real, they have to force their government. And I'm not talking about sending letters, signing petitions, and all this beautiful, noble activity. I'm talking about forcing United States government to stop aiding communism. Because there is no other problem more burning and urgent than to stop the Soviet military-industrial complex from destroying whatever is left of the free world. And it is very easy to do. No credits, no technology, no money, no political or diplomatic recognition, and of course no such idiocy as grain deals to USSR. The Soviet people, 270 millions of Soviets, will be eternally thankful to you if you stop aiding a bunch of murderers who sit now in Kremlin and whom President Reagan respectfully calls government. They do not govern anything, least of all such complexity as the Soviet economy. So basic, two very simple, maybe two simplistic answers or solutions, but never.
All right. Sorry about cutting that. But basically, okay, this is what happened then, and this is what he describes then. And it kind of relates, some of the stuff that's going on nowadays. Because, people somewhat try and protect communism and socialism, but criticize big government. But as he says, it seems like communism, socialism, and big government all usually play a role. I looked into, or not looked into, but read some of the couple of books that had that argument where fascism, big government, socialism, communism, any of those things have to be supported by a big, overarching federal government, basically. Federal government has to have more power. And that's where I'm kind of like, I kind of agree with the small government, small federal government that has, limited power, and keep it that way because, everybody, things I've looked into and read about, and a lot of history states that the bigger the government, the more the individual loses. So, but let me know at the bottom what you think, or if you got any good ideas or any information that I might have not touched in it or might have been a little off on. Please let me know at the bottom, and we'll catch you in the next video.